Hey, somebody needs to bear down. You have? Excellent. Good morning, afternoon, or evening. You are listening to The Professional Noticer. Hello, everyone. I'm Andy Andrews. Hey, thank you for making me a part of your week. My purpose here today and with every show we do is to play the part of a best friend or coach. I want to help you live the life of your wildest dreams by giving you access to the greatest mentors the world has to offer today. The Professional Noticer is sponsored this week by our friends at Tucker ATV. You know, the variety of power sport products at Tucker ATV will it'll shake you up when you walk in the door. The Hustler turf equipment, the entire line of Echo power tools, and of course, Tucker ATV carries every make and model of Polaris ATVs, the good stuff. They have the big side-by-sides, the big Ranger crew, and you have to see the showroom, the taxidermy, the antique displays, and an indoor porch with a porch swing and comfortable chairs, television, and coffee. You should stop in and meet Shannon and Lisa Tucker. They treat customers like family, which is why people from 14 states have done business with Tucker ATV. Think about that now. How many Polaris dealerships do these people drive by to do business with Shannon and Lisa Tucker? Tucker ATV, Highway 43 North in Jackson, Alabama, the small town business with the national reputation. Observations and answers, that's what we do here on the Professional Noticer. And we've got a triple threat today. You know, we love it when somebody comes to the table with observations and answers. And then when they're an old friend, that's just a triple threat. I have as our guest today, the global gurus ranked him the #1 sales trainer and sales training system in the world for 2 years in a row. How about that? And please welcome Joe Pici. Hey, buddy,
Andy.
How are you?
Thanks for having me back. It's exciting.
Man, I am very appreciative that you're here. Just talking with you the other day and you saying, yeah, I'm making a couple of breakthroughs on some thought and some thinking about some stuff. And that, that attracts me. I am not a fad guy, sure there's a lot of new books that come out that are like a new way to explain the starfish to that one. It makes all the difference in the world. And, it's just like, I don't know, just fluff, a lot of stuff. But the definition of wisdom is a deeper understanding of principle. Deeper. If it was a deep understanding of principle, we would have a target and we could say, okay, I'm there, I am wise. Fortunately, it is a deeper understanding of principle. And when you get a deeper understanding of principle, where do you go from there? Well, deeper, I guess. And that's what you continue to do. And so, you would think that certain things like why do people quit anything that would have been explored, and I know it has been explored, but it is now being explored in a deeper way. And so tell us, just tell us what you got. What I guess when we're talking about selling or building a business or an entrepreneurial effort, what have you determined is the #1 reason people quit?
Well, there's a million reasons, but really when it comes down to it, because I'm on the front line, because I do all our selling and I do all our training, and I'm training people that have to go out and produce. That's their lifeblood, whether they're growing a business or they're selling. And what has become very apparent to me over and over again is they quit because one reason: they cannot handle rejection. When you think about it, sitting with you years ago in a restaurant, all right, we had recaptured our relationship, found each other after we had gone off into the stratosphere.
Right.
We're sitting there eating something we shouldn't eat probably. And you told us a story about getting your book published, and you said you had 51 rejections. And all I could think about was, I don't know any authors that would have hit number 52. Okay. In dealing with sales and dealing with all the companies I deal with, their biggest challenge is when they hit that rejection, what do they do?
Yeah, you're probably right. I've thought many times, because those 51 rejections, that was over a period of 3.5 years. I didn't really have any experience in publishing. And then these are the experts that are telling me that what I've written, The Traveler's Gift, was not worth putting on paper. And so I've thought many times through the years that I'll bet you the greatest book that's ever written, the greatest music that's ever produced, it will never be heard by anybody or never be read by anybody. It'll end up in somebody's drawer because somebody will say, yeah, that's not very good. And they'll accept that. They'll just take that, or it'll hurt so much they couldn't show it to anybody else. But you're right. That rejection, I wish we could. How do we rejection proof somebody?
I have some steps.
I'll bet you do. Austin has spent a bunch of time with you, and Austin says, just being around Mr. Joe will make you like bulletproof.
Well, it's really, and I appreciate that, and boy, what a talent he is. But it's really not about attitude. It's not about walking on hot coals. It's really tactical and strategic. All right. So I think the first thing, and the one thing that
wait. I think this is very good. I think this is a point that people need to hear. That this is not a bang your head against the locker room door and then charge out on the field. This is not a mood that you have to ramp yourself up into. This is not a talent that you have. This is a skill you can develop.
Exactly.
All right.
Everything we do, every training room, every coaching, it's about strategy, messagings, and skills. It's not about having this John Wayne, Attila the Hun approach, because there's very few people like that out there. So what we did, we had to break it down. Okay. The one thing I knew when I spoke to you, Dawn and I spoke to you, was you believed in your product. And so the first step in overcoming rejections, you better believe in what you have. So if you don't believe in that, right off the bat, you're in trouble. The second thing is we got to get it out of the personal and into the professional. You said something to me many years ago, and you said, Joe, if you can measure it, you'll get rehired.
Yep.
Lock that one down. And so instead of saying, work with me, I never put me in the equation. I do everything through value proposition messaging, which is I lead with the results, benefits, and solutions. So stay with me. If they say no, the rejection goes by me, and they're not saying no to me. They're saying no, they don't want those results. And that's key. So important. We have 20 ways we generate leads. One is through LinkedIn. Number 2 is cold calls. I don't get beat up, and my clients don't get beat up, because when we lead with benefits and results, not with, hey, work with me. That's dangerous.
And let me interject here to our viewers and our listeners that when Joe says cold calls, I don't know that there's anybody on the planet that's better at this than Joe, because there are 2 clients that Joe has. One is TSA, Transportation Safety Administration, and the other is the NFL Players Association. And both of he's got other clients, but those 2 clients he got with cold calls, which just blows me away. I just think that is hilarious.
Well, but I think it's perspective again. I didn't say, I've got to be mentally tough. I've got to be the A-type personality. I had an unemotional script. if they said no, which I get a lot of no's, but they're not saying no to Joe Pici as a person. And this is so important about rejection. It's in one of the famous lines of all movies, The Godfather. Michael Corleone said, Sonny, it's not personal, it's business. And too many people run their business personally and not professionally. The third thing, we have to understand the law of big numbers. If people want to make a lot of money with a few clients, and that's great. But behind me, there's a whiteboard. From January 1st until this morning, I have 200 formal proposals out. Proposals, right? Not leads, but proposals. Here's what I know about on that board. Here's a whole lot of money. Yeah. Here's what I know about that board. There's a whole lot of no's. Right?
Yeah,
but
yeah.
The problem is the law of numbers will this really take away a lot from the no's. All right. So we have to segment that. I think another thing that I saw in you when you talked about your book was the passion you had. You saw the big picture. You saw the end result. You saw your dream. And if we don't keep that in front of us, why are we doing this? Okay. I mean, what is the reason I'm going to put myself on the line for possible rejection? Well, what you want better be bigger than that. Okay.
Right.
And again, that comes in all the self-help books, but very few people read anymore. And very few people really ever stay around long enough to hit the gold. I think there's another aspect here. We've got to work on our mental toughness. Now, you can, and again, I go back to the self-help books. They're all wonderful. I never look at you as a self-help guy. I look at you as somebody who can attach principles to stories that inspire. It's a big difference. It's kind of like
I appreciate that.
It's like holistic medicine, right?
Right.
You get to the core. So how do you develop this mental toughness? There's only one way. It's through repetition. That's, it's the only way you overcome is repeated.
And you know what? I think, let me add a little salt in there.
Yeah.
I think that what you are repeating, it has to be, you once you are sure that it's the truth. I mean, that when you take the truth and force repetition on it, I think that is the way you become bulletproof.
In my industry, the world of quote unquote sales training, where most of the sales trainers don't sell, and I'm not putting them down, it's just the way the world is. Do I do other things? Yeah. But I'm going to tell you, I know what I do best, and I will not walk into a training room with anything that I don't do personally. So just forced on my own spaced repetition allows me to transition that to other people. But I'm going to give you the single number one. I gave you the list. The number one way to offset rejection is with a full pipeline.
Yeah.
That's it.
Yeah, because man, if you're sitting around going, well, what do I do now? That is death. Yeah.
If you, I was on the phone yesterday with a potential client, right? And he's looking at the proposal and we're going back and he said, Joe, have you researched my company? I said, absolutely not. When I get my deposit, I'll research your company. He goes, wait a minute. Are you telling me you don't know anything about your company? I said, I know exactly everything about your company that I need to know. People need to know how to generate leads. They need to know how to pick up the phone and book appointments. They knew how to do consultative sales presentations. That's my area of expertise. What you do is not important till you pay me a deposit. And he goes, wait a minute. I said, now, once I get a deposit, I'll research your company. He said, how can you do that? I said, because I have 200 proposals on the board. If I researched every one of those companies, I'd have no time to sell or deliver. And he said, okay, how do I pay a deposit? I need my people to understand what you just said. You see, when all is said and done, more is said than done.
Yeah. Yeah.
So those are tactical, strategic ways that we can offset the word rejection. And yet 92% of the people in our country that are either in outside sales or decide to build their own business will quit in 3 to 5 years.
Why is that? What are you seeing in companies and in individuals today? Because it's, that's kind of an amazing thing to say to me, because you and I grew up in the day our daddies, if we even talked about quitting, I mean, oh my gosh, I mean, they weren't going to let us quit anything,
Right.
And it's like, Dad, I quit smoking. You quitter.
No,
I mean, not to that extreme, but
no, but the reasons, there's a lot of reasons, but there's some key reasons. Number one, people buy the sizzle, they don't buy the steak. They don't really ever look into what's it going to take to be successful in that. So they see a person after they have fought the fight, and they look like, wow, this person's got this wonderful lifestyle, right? And they go, I want that. But what they don't do is they don't count the cost of what it's really going to take. I call them non-negotiables. What is it going to take to get there?
right.
That's important. And so what happens is they get involved, and usually where I find them, I'm going to tell you where I find them. They've already spent money on their website. They bought new clothes. They think they needed to have a Rolex. They've done all the periphery. They throw a lot of money on inbound marketing. And I'm not saying these are wrong, but they don't learn how to sell, and they don't have sales. And so by the time I find them, they're broke. And this is what they say. I really don't have money. I have to get some money, but I know I need sales. And then I very nicely, I say, have you considered the consequences of not mastering sales? I say it nicely. I go get How to Win Friends and Influence People, and I brush up. But that's, but it's the truth. And so what happens is last year on Memorial Day, when people were drinking beer and eating hot dogs, and I'm kind of a crazy guy, I was in my office. I pulled out I decided to go over the last 100 no's I got. Find out where they were. I got the no's. I went on LinkedIn. 95% of them were no longer in business or in sales.
Wow.
So you got to count the cost.
It's just like that old Gary Player story. On a pro-am, Gary Player hit this awesome shot that bent around a tree and made it to the green, and the amateur playing with him said, I wish I could hit a shot like that. And Gary Player said, no, you just wish you could hit a shot like that without coming out 10 hours a day, hitting that shot over and over again in the wind and in the rain until your hands bled. That's what you wish you could do.
And that's the thing right there. Andy, the problem is, like, you make things look really easy. Nobody knows how hard you work. But you go on there, you walk up on the stage, and you just dazzle a crowd, or you write these incredible books, and people go, I want to do that. Here's what they don't know. They don't know everything you've done to get there, and how many times you thought about, why in the world am I doing this? Right?
You're right. And curiously, with what I do when I'm communicating when I'm interviewing like this, or when I'm on stage speaking, or when I'm teaching. I learned a long time ago that the better you were, better somebody was at something like that, the more they would look like they're doing nothing at all. And and it is a long practiced skill to I mean, you can have some, but this is why, you hear people say, oh, my cousin, he's so funny, he should be a comedian. My cousin's so funny, he can just talk, he should be a speaker. There's a big difference in being funny or speaking to your friends at Thanksgiving and getting up in front of 1,000 people on a Thursday night after you had a fight with your wife on the phone and you have a headache and it's time to go on and you're walking out in front of people who don't care if you live or die.
No, exactly.
Yeah.
In our business, of course we have our sales training, but then we have a 3-day boot camp, the business of speaking, training, and coaching. Not how to talk, but how to get paid for it and how to serve the client. And I remember we had this really wonderful gentleman from Tennessee come in, and he went through the boot camp. And at the end, he came up, he put Dawn on one side, me on the other. He was a great Southern gentleman. He kissed us on the cheek. He goes, I'm going to go home, become the associate pastor. You guys work entirely too hard. Because we told the truth. Like, one of the things we do is we teach people our system for putting on their own events, right? It's a process. We have sold out every event every year now. And then I do a profit and loss. And I let them get their pens. I show them all of our expenses. And they look and they go, we can't believe you're showing us. I said, I'm telling you the truth. And at the end, they go, oh my gosh, you made a whole lot of money. I said, yeah, but what you didn't see is the phone calls, the meetings, the proposals, all of that. Now you have to decide, is the challenge worth the prize? Do you want to do that? Right? And so he decided that the business of speaking, training, and coaching, he already knew how to speak, but to have to go out and get clients, that's something he wasn't so sure he wanted to do.
Right. And I think that has more to do with who you are and how you deliver that process, the skill. It's like I was telling Austin the other day. Austin playing the guitar and singing, and I have some experience with that,
right?
Just that world. And I told him, I said, there are several levels that you can get in that business or in speaking or singing. And very few people get to the top of it. And the reason is not as clear as most people think. Most people think, well, they don't have any talent, or they didn't get the breaks, or whatever. Well, the talent is a part of it. There is a gift of a voice sounding good. I mean, not only can you carry a tune, but you sound good. And then, almost anybody can learn to play the guitar. But what do you put on top of that? It's the skills you add to that little, there's nothing more cliche in the world than the athlete who comes out of college and he's a natural athlete and he does okay in the pros, but the guy who's not so natural an athlete, his talent is a little lower than that great natural athlete, and he has to work and work and work, and this guy gets in the Hall of Fame.
Yeah. And in our industry, okay, there's another set of rules that we play by, okay? Are we going to spend every waking dollar an hour throwing it at traditional advertising so we can acclaim that celebrity? You have done something that very few people in our industry do. And I know you hate this word celebrity, and so do I, but you have gotten to a certain position without all of the spending $2 million a month on advertising because of the quality of how you've not only mastered the stage, but your writing is magnificent and you've mastered that. And so you've done it the hard way, right? Whereas the people we compete with, the people you compete with, a lot of them throw so much money on traditional advertising that all of a sudden they're going to get to a certain place because they're everywhere. That doesn't mean they're better. I mean, I'm competing with people that are there and I have to outsell them.
Yeah. You're competing with people who are there because they have the money to throw it. The Peter Principle is not just in corporate America. You can pay money to apply the Peter Principle to yourself with advertising yourself to a point. You see people that they'll put a book out and then they will buy 100,000 of their own books. And,
exactly. I know. I know. Yeah. And I know people that way, and your books, you were a real bestseller. There's the real bestsellers. And then there's the bestsellers that pay $20 for 5 minutes on Amazon that day, which is fine. But really the thing you said to me that we've lived with is, Joe, if you can measure it. So everything we do, we measure. And everything we do, our client can measure. And that's allowed us, not to win over on charisma and talent, but people can predict success based on what we do all the time.
Right.
And that's how we've offset not being $2 million a month in advertising people.
See, that goes back to, when the Speakers Bureau told me that I had gotten to the top of what people like me can get. And I was like, well, what's people like me? And they said, you don't have a Super Bowl ring, you don't have a gold medal, you don't have a television show, you weren't the hero of some national tragedy. And so I look at that and I think, yeah, that's right. I'm just kind of a everyday guy, and it's too late to go back to school and learn how to do something like that, and too late to learn how to throw a football. And so how do you make somebody like us? I mean, I'm a nobody, how do you make somebody like me in demand? Well, results and measure it. Because if you can prove it, and right before I told you guys that, Joe, I had realized that after years of speaking, I'd had people tell me I was the funniest, I was the best, I was their favorite. I had heard it tell me a bunch of stuff, but I never had anybody come up to me and say, you were with us 6 months ago, and there was a 4-minute piece that you did about 2/3 of the way through, and we took that 4-minute piece and harnessed it in our company, and we've made $20 million with it.
Absolutely.
I'd never had anybody say that, and so I realized, well, how would I know? I'm not measuring anything, and I realized that what I was after was too shallow. That what I was after was to satisfy an audience. Okay, and so that's there. I mean, I don't want to make anybody feel bad or anything, but there are tons of speakers, and unfortunately, I think there are tons of preachers who their goal on Sunday is to satisfy that congregation and not go any deeper than that. Speakers want to satisfy the audience and not go any deeper than that. And when I realized that my purpose was to help people live the lives they would live if they only knew how,
right,
I realized it was going to take more than an hour once every 2 years.
No, absolutely. Yeah. Yeah. As you know, we started our life, quote unquote, keynoting. And I don't know what gave me this idea, Dawn and I don't, maybe we got hit by lightning one day, but I said to Dawn, there's going to be a change in the industry and training will become more in demand than keynoting. And keynoting follows the economy. And I said, and you can't deliver results from a keynote stage unless they're really paying attention. But I can deliver results in a training room and we can measure it and we can quantify it. So maybe we won't get to that famous people because we're not out there in front of thousands all the time.
Right.
In smaller training rooms, but we have to make a living.
Yeah. Hey, I'm fine with being a kingmaker. I love making kings and queens. I love helping people. That's where I kind of get that's my standing ovation, is watching a company just blow up and succeed beyond their wildest dreams, and watching individuals do that. And I know you're the same way.
Yeah.
And there's two things before I let you go, Joe. There's two things. I would be remiss if I don't tell the story that I have to tell everybody, that when I'm around you again, anybody who's around that hasn't seen Joe before, Joe is the only person who has gotten fired from a job and found out about it in USA Today, found out he was fired in USA Today. So Joe is an assistant football coach at a major college, and the assistant coaches would go in and have coffee. Have I got this right? They have coffee and donuts every morning before daylight. And so there would be a USA Today sitting at every place, and these guys are coming in, shuffling in. Then one of them goes, "Oh, crap." And everybody looks up and goes, "What?" So we're fired. What? But they fired the head coach the night before, and he didn't even bother to tell these guys. So is that, to me, I like to collect odd things like that.
Well, that it was a turning point. It was ugly firing, but it was a point by which I had to look and say, I've sacrificed my family. I've been on the road recruiting, coaching 100 hours a week, yada, 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 yada. And they didn't think twice about it. First time in my life, I thought about maybe you should do something that you have more control over.
Yeah.
Now, we didn't immediately go into business at that moment, but that opened up the window. Okay. And I think anybody who's never been fired will never relate to being fired. Right. Because just a week before, I actually was arrogant enough to say to my wife, I'm too good to get fired.
Oh, really?
Oh, yeah. I took it to a new level. So that was a turning point. We all have turning points. You've had them. We've had them. And that's all part of rejection, too. What do you do when you get nailed? Do you lay down, and in our society today is a lot of whining, or do you say, you know what? What's next? Okay. I have something to say about that rejection thing.
Yeah, tell me.
In our sales boot camp or corporate training or one-on-one, there's a point in time that I get the people to make outbound calls. And that's their biggest fear. They're calling people, some warm, cold, hot, whatever, but they're calling people to book appointments or even do virtual selling.
Yeah, they're doing this live.
They're doing it live. I won't do it if it's not live. I don't believe in role play. It's real play. And I had to build that rejection-proof messaging. So we get into scripting. And people go, I don't like scripting. And I go, Brando's scripted. He's the best actor in the world, right? So let's get over it. But anyway, what happens is, I saw this even in your son. In the beginning, they actually want to take it personally, but it's not personal because people are saying yes or no to the results, and their shoulders go up, their confidence raises, and they get a smile on their face 100% of the time. And this is the key, that rejection can be handled. And if it's not handled, then there's a small amount of people that have the mental toughness or the thick skin that's going to be able to handle it time after time.
Yeah. Do me one favor before we go. We're going to have everything about how to contact you, everything on the show notes, but take us through a value proposition with a cold call. Just take us through that. I just want people to hear this.
I'll tell you, because I do it every day. I'm going to look at my proposals and boom, there it is. Okay. A year and a half ago, I cold called into the healthcare industry. We had very little business in healthcare, but I knew it was an insulated market. And I called the CEO of a healthcare agency. Okay. And I pick up the phone and I said, Randy, this is Joe Pici of Pici and Pici. I saw you on LinkedIn. Did I catch you at a bad time? He goes, no. What's this all about? Now, I wasn't selling sales training. I knew they had a lot of conflict in healthcare. So I went after conflict resolution.
Okay.
I said, we specialize in the healthcare industry, resolving conflict and increasing productivity. And he went, okay, Randy, would it be worth 15 minutes for me to show you how we can help your people resolve internal and external conflict, be more productive, and increase your bottom line? That was a yes, no answer. He goes, what do you got? We moved into our sales meeting. That's how I call people. I determine what I want to sell them, what the benefits are, and I lead with that. I don't care who they are. Okay. I mean, I called a guy, had a PhD from Procter & Gamble, retired. He looked at my LinkedIn profile and I just called him up. I said, Tim, you looked at my LinkedIn profile. See, I have the kind of LinkedIn that I can tell if people look at it. He goes, yeah. I said, what compelled you to look at my profile? Well, I've been a trainer inside of Procter & Gamble. I've always thought about going into my own consulting. I said, I do want to tell you what I do. I specialize in helping speakers, coaches, trainers, and consultants take their talent and intellectual property and monetize it. And he went, you got to be kidding me. How do you do that? And I said, would it be worth 15 minutes for me to show you how to make money with your talent? That's the simplicity of it.
Yeah.
Can I give away a free gift? Can I give away a free gift?
Do you?
Can I?
You can.
I got one. Anybody listening to this, take out your phone, type in the word Sales Edge into your text message, one word, send it to 55678. That's going to take you to a link, Pici and Pici, take you to a splash page. Right now, we're offering a free masterclass on sales. It will pop up. It's free. I won't hound you, but you will get a free masterclass. And then you can call me anytime for a complimentary cup of Joe at 407-947-2590. And then Andy will have all the contact information.
Yeah, and we will put I don't know what I thought you were talking about. I mean, I thought you were still in your story and that you're saying,
no,
give you a present. So I was like, I don't know. Am I supposed to say yes or no? I don't know. Joe, thank you so much for being with us.
Thanks for having me. It's just been one of those things where you've been on my mind. When I hear the word rejection, I always think about your publishing story. Always.
Yep. Well, that's a good one, isn't it?
Well, it's a true one. I don't like stories that are not true.
Yeah. And you would think that after 51 rejections, and then it gets published and it's a New York Times bestseller, and it's Good Morning America names it one of the 5 books you should read in your lifetime, you'd think I was home free. But the Noticer got rejected too. And the Butterfly Effect got rejected too. So,
and again, very few people, especially in today's economy, people are not built for rejection. They have to learn how to deal with it.
Right. We gotta do some push-ups and get ready for that. Thank you, buddy, and we will see you soon.
Tell the family I said hi.
I will do it.
Bye.
I'm Andy Andrews, the professional noticer, harnessing common sense and wisdom to plow through challenges all the way to an answer for you. And I think that'll do it for this week. Get us out of here, Matthew. So, ladies and gentlemen, and to the boys and girls who aspire to become ladies and gentlemen, we have reached the end of another episode of The Professional Noticer. In a world where common sense has become a superpower, I'm harnessing that tiny bit of mental energy I have for you, seeking wisdom, making observations, and endeavoring to answer tough questions in a way that will empower your family and your business. I'm Andy Andrews. Until next week, goodbye. This episode of The Professional Noticer was produced by Matt Limpert. The Noticer theme, written and performed by Sugarcane Jane. Body armor for the cast and crew by Twinkle and Smoke of Beverly Hills. Additional funding provided by glutenfree.com. Are you confused by society's constant reference to gluten? Have you ever wondered what the heck gluten is anyway? Well, gluten is a protein found in many grains, including wheat, barley, and rye. Unless you're allergic to it, gluten is part of a healthy diet and can be found in bread, pasta, cereal, beer, pretty much all the stuff you like. So again, unless you are allergic to gluten, eat up. But where, you might ask, do I stock up on extra gluten? From the friendly people at glutenfree.com, of course. Order all you want, and it won't cost you a penny. It's free. Heck, we'll even pay for your shipping. Get your free gluten today at glutenfree.com.